I've spoken about Threads before. I really like Threads. I don't use it for business. I know a lot of people use Threads for business, like they use Instagram, TikTok, etc. I use it for leisure. It's very similar to, I think, old style Twitter, even though I was never really on Twitter that much. And then Twitter's turned to X, and we know what's happened over there. I saw this story, and from seeing it to where it's got to now has been absolutely crazy. So the name of the person's thread, well, her thread name is Clarice. Her name is Claire. Um, so this is, I'm going to put it on here, what she asked, what she said. My daughter requested a cheesecake for her birthday. We just moved to the area, so I asked on the neighborhood page for recommendations, and a ton of people raved about a local mom in her neighborhood who makes cheesecakes people are still dreaming about. So Claire placed an order. Here's the cake, cheesecake. $50 cheesecake. I mean, the base is uneven. And look how thin. The base is so thin. I mean, is that a $50 cheesecake? I don't think it is. So you can see the pictures here of the cheesecake inside. And naturally, she was just very disappointed with it. So then she messaged the baker saying that she was a bit disappointed with the cheesecake that she bought for her daughter's birthday. And the baker's response was that her cheesecakes are lighter and more dense than New York style. Because New York style cheesecakes are quite deep and thick. So she apologized and said she would take my feedback in mind. She did not offer to refund any money. Now, the thing is, and I will say this in the baker's defense, she doesn't have to refund any money. If she feels that what she delivered was adequate, she doesn't have to refund. But maybe because the person who bought the cheesecake wasn't happy and wasn't expecting what she got, maybe a partial refund. I don't know. Tell me what you think about that. Do you think the baker should have given her a refund? It went viral, and the thing with going viral is that you never know what is going to go viral. Lots of people came out and said, $50 for this cheesecake. It wasn't. It's not a $50 cheesecake. And a lot of people asked as well, why was the cheesecake still on the base? And I can't remember what the explanation was for it. Because if you're selling a cheesecake, you're not going to sell the cheesecake with the base still on it. And a lot of people speculated that they feel that the baker wasn't a professional um, cake maker, and that all the people that recommended her were her friends, and that maybe she is someone who makes cheesecakes for friends and stuff, and that's fine. But if you have somebody who's not a friend and is like a kind of outside paying customer, their standards are going to be a lot higher than what your friends and family standards is going to be. So Claire, in response to all this, on the neighborhood thread where she was looking for cheesecakes and this baker was recommended, she went back and she showed the cheesecake. She said, so on the neighborhood thread where people recommended her cheesecakes, I posted a picture of the one she sold me and said I was disappointed and that she owed me $50. She responded and said everything was from scratch, defended that her cheesecakes aren't typical cheesecakes, but she would refund me minus the cost of ingredients, whatever that is. So obviously she changed her mind. But then Claire comes back and says, latest update, I'm not getting a refund. So she didn't get a refund. I guess she thinks what she sold me was a quality product, and that's that. I'll let Karma deal with her. Thank you for entertaining me this weekend. I mean, these threads have had thousands of likes, shares, etc. Um, as I said earlier, she doesn't have to give a refund um, if she feels the product's good enough. Whether Claire thinks that or not, the baker doesn't have to give a refund. But what's even more interesting about this is that the Cheesecake Factory, which is they're only in America and obviously they do cheesecake, they came out of Thread's retirement with their first thread in 3 years, and they said, "Why are people talking about us on Threads? Hi!" And it's so funny because the requests, everyone's like saying, you're gone for 3 years and now you've come back because of Cheesecakegate, and the whole thread is just hilarious of people saying, and then and this is what tends to happen. Then you have other brands coming in, you see. And even Threads' official account came in as well. Um, so Cheesecake Factory came back on Threads, and they ended up giving Claire a $50 Cheesecake Factory voucher, which Claire was really happy about. What I've also seen though is that some people think this is fake because, and I will say this, sometimes on Threads there have been kind of fake sort of incidents, but Claire's come and said, "Why would I? Why would I fake this?" And I believe it. I don't believe it's fake, but it has gone. Like I said, it went viral. It ended up on Good Morning America, and it also ended up on, I think, an Australian morning show. And it just shows how, like, virility starts off on one post about buying a cheesecake that didn't sort of live up to the standard, and the next thing you know, it's on Good Morning America. Absolutely crazy. I just wanted to talk about that story. I just found it really, really interesting. And I just think for bakers, I think if you don't normally make cakes for people apart from your friends and family, like I said before, just realize that your standard, your friends and family are kind of more forgiving. Um, But then I suppose on the other side, if you feel that your standard of cake is good enough to sell to the general buying public, then go ahead. But realize that not everybody is going to be happy, may be happy with what you produce. And people have the right to come on social if they're not happy with this. I think there's this whole thing with that. If somebody isn't happy with a cake or a product, especially from a small or independent business, they should just go directly to the producer and have like almost a quiet word with them. That is one way of doing it. But a lot of people are like, don't do that. They're going social, but like, this is what I got, I'm not happy with it. And you can't hate people for doing that. That is just what people do. Um, so yeah. And just to say, throughout this whole thread virality cheesecake drama, Claire never mentioned the baker's name. So we have no idea who the baker is. She knows who she is, but we have no idea who the baker is. So a lot of people would have named them, but I think she felt, actually, I'm not going to, because you know how people can be. People can be very, very, very nasty and start sending like totally out of proportion comments and stuff, which I think what is why Claire didn't mention who it was. But I just thought I'd talk about this story because I just saw it on Threads and it was just like, whoa, what is this? From posting it on there to Cheesecake Factory coming back from Threads retirement after 3 years. It was really interesting. Until next time, Kate lovers.